Welcome to Module 2 of BAD-1300 Business Math. In this module, we'll cover Chapter 2, Review of Fractions, and Chapter 3, Decimals. Now, in Chapter 2, we refresh our memory of the dreaded fraction. At least it always was for me. Once you start mixing various types of fractions, 1/2, 1/4, 3/8, things can start to get a little confusing. But this week's refresher will clear that all up for you and help us wrap our mind around it. Now we'll start with the basics. What is a fraction and what are the parts? The denominator, the numerator. And we'll talk about the various types of fractions, proper and improper, and learn how to convert improper fractions to whole numbers or mixed numbers. For instance, 6/3 is just an improper way of writing the number 2. 6 divided by 3 equals 2. If this is an area where you struggle, I highly recommend doing as many of the practice problems in MyLab Math as you can. They will definitely help you. Now in Chapter 3, we're going to take it to the next step and talk about decimals. In today's business world, where we're using automated systems to keep track of the vast amounts of data and numbers, you'll most likely see fractions of whole numbers presented in decimal form. Keep in mind that decimal simply means that we're using the number 10 as the basis for all calculations. A simple example is that it takes 10 100ths to make a tenth, and 10 tenths to make a whole number. In this chapter, we'll not only learn or refresh your memory on how to read and write decimals, but also how to round them, add and subtract them, multiply and divide them. And we'll also look at conversions, how to convert a decimal to a fraction and a fraction to a decimal. So have your calculators ready. So how do these chapters apply in the business world? I want you to think about things you see in everyday life. A bank ad that indicates that you get 3.25% interest. An article that indicates a company is worth $3.2 million. Now, how important is the rounding? Let me give you one example. Let's say one of your workers, one of your staff comes to you and said, we're experiencing a 2% loss in inventory. Okay, 2% of what? Now, we'll talk about percentage in the coming weeks, but let's just say they reported at a straight 2%. Well, if we have an inventory worth $1 million, then 2% of that is $20,000. So you're losing $20,000. But if they rounded down from 2.48% to 2%, that's a loss rate. The actual 2.48 is a loss rate of $24,800. or $4,800 more than they presented to you. Now, the staff underreported the loss rate by 19%. Again, we'll talk about percentages soon. But you could see that just by selecting how many decimal places we carry out the data can have a significant impact on the decisions of management. As we move along through the coming weeks, it's not just the mechanics of math that I want you to focus on. I also want you to focus on the application of this math and how it's used within the business world. Now, your activities for this week include My Math Lab, and in My Math Lab, you're going to read chapters 2 and 3, do chapter 2 and 3 homework assignments, and then you'll have the MyLab Math quiz number 1 that covers chapters 1 through 3. That sets you up in practices for the actual exam on chapters 1 through 3 that you'll complete next week. In My Learning, you'll review chapters 2 and 3 PowerPoint slides, and you have the module 2 discussion, which is your math practice. I hope each of you has a great week, and I look forward to seeing your work in class. Thank you.